Men fail not because they lack love, honesty, or effort, but because they misunderstand how attraction truly works. They give more and receive less. They explain more and are respected less. Men are raised to believe that intention is everything, that if their heart is clean, their effort sincere, and their loyalty unquestionable, the outcome will follow. Machiavelli would quietly shake his head at this illusion. In human affairs, he warned, truth is rarely rewarded, perception is. And nowhere is this more evident than in desire. A man may intend to love, protect, provide, and commit. Yet none of these intentions possess power unless they are felt. Feminine nature does not respond to internal motives. It responds to external signals. Not because women are shallow, but because attraction is an instinct long older than language or logic. What is perceived shapes emotion. What is unseen does not exist. Understand this clearly. Emotion is not a courtroom where evidence is weighed fairly. Emotion is a battlefield where impressions strike first and reason arrives late, wounded if it arrives at all. When a man explains himself too much, when he justifies, clarifies, reassures, and proves, he believes he is building trust. In reality, he is dissolving tension. And tension is the silent engine of desire. Machiavelli observed that men judge more by the eye than by the hand, because seeing is easy and touching is rare. In attraction, this truth sharpens. A woman does not experience a man through his internal narrative. She experiences him through presence, tone, rhythm, restraint, through how he enters a room, how he speaks without asking permission, how he remains unmoved by her approval or disapproval. These impressions bypass logic and speak directly to instinct. This is where men fail without ever realizing it. They attempt to be understood instead of being felt. They explain their values instead of embodying them. They announce commitment instead of allowing it to be inferred. And every time a man reaches outward to control perception through words, he loses control of it entirely. Perception is not crafted by effort, it is shaped by coherence. A man who is internally centered, emotionally regulated, and selective with his attention creates a gravity that needs no explanation. His silence communicates more than 1,000 reassurances. His calm suggests depth. His absence creates space for imagination, and imagination is where desire multiplies. Machiavelli would remind you that appearing powerful is often more effective than being powerful, not because appearance is false, but because humans respond to symbols faster than substance. Desire works the same way. The feeling of safety does not come from constant presence, but from controlled presence. The feeling of attraction does not come from availability, but from value implied through limitation. Men often believe that if they show everything they are, they will be chosen. Yet revelation without restraint cheapens even the finest qualities. Mystery is not manipulation. It is the natural byproduct of a life not centered on being chosen. When a man's world is full, his intentions are no longer loud. They are quiet, stable, and therefore believable. Perception is the doorway through which emotion enters. If that doorway is flooded with explanations, apologies, and effort, emotion retreats. If that doorway is guarded by calm confidence and selective investment, emotion leans forward. Machiavelli did not ask men to deceive. He taught them to understand that human nature responds to what is shown, not what is meant, and that those who ignore this truth surrender power without ever knowing why. Men are taught that stability is the highest virtue. Be consistent, be reliable, be emotionally available at all times. Machiavelli would recognize this as a dangerous misunderstanding of human nature. Stability preserves systems, but attraction is not a system. It is a current, and currents die when the water no longer moves. Security, when overextended, does not deepen desire. It neutralizes it. When a man becomes entirely predictable, entirely safe, entirely certain, he removes the element that keeps emotion alert. Feminine nature does not thrive on chaos, but it does respond to vitality. And vitality requires tension. Not cruelty, not harm, but the subtle uncertainty that keeps perception engaged. Machiavelli warned rulers never to allow themselves to be fully known or fully possessed. The moment a prince is taken for granted, his authority begins to decay. In attraction, the same principle applies. When a man's presence is guaranteed, his absence loses meaning. When his attention is constant, it stops feeling valuable. What costs nothing is treated as worth nothing, not out of malice, but out of instinct. Many men believe that reassurance builds closeness. In truth, excessive reassurance communicates fear of loss, and fear is never attractive. A man who constantly confirms his devotion reveals that his emotional center lies outside himself. Feminine instinct senses this imbalance immediately, not consciously, not maliciously, but biologically. Security that flows from weakness feels heavy. Security that flows from strength feels grounding. Cruelty is not the answer, but neither is emotional overexposure. Machiavelli never advised rulers to be loved at all costs. He advised them to avoid being despised. There is a crucial difference. In relationships, a man who sacrifices self-respect for approval invites quiet contempt, not because he is kind, but because he has shown he cannot regulate himself. Attraction requires friction, not arguments, not games, but contrast. The contrast between presence and absence, between certainty and curiosity, between what is given and what is withheld. When everything is offered freely, nothing feels earned. When attention is disciplined, it becomes meaningful. Men often confuse being needed with being desired. Need is born from dependency. Desire is born from admiration. A man who builds his life around constant availability teaches others how little his time is worth. A man who is anchored in purpose, routine, and self-direction becomes someone whose presence feels like an event rather than a guarantee. Machiavelli understood that power fades when it is always visible. The sun that never sets is no longer noticed. In the same way, affection that never withdraws loses its heat. This withdrawal is not punishment, it is balance. It allows longing to breathe. It restores polarity. It reminds the other person that connection is a privilege, not a right. True security does not come from emotional saturation. It comes from knowing that a man chooses to be present, not that he must be. When a woman senses that a man could walk away without collapsing, his presence feels safer, not colder. His attention feels intentional, not needy. Predictability signals emotional stagnation. Mystery signals life. A man who governs his availability governs his value. Machiavelli would say that it is better to be respected than to be endlessly accommodating, because respect sustains influence long after affection has faded. Men are trained to argue their value. They explain their intentions, defend their actions, and reason their way toward acceptance. Machiavelli would observe this effort with calm detachment, knowing that logic has never ruled the human heart. Emotion does, always has, always will. Loyalty is not secured through explanation, but through experience. A man may be correct, fair, and rational, yet still lose influence. Because influence is not awarded to the reasonable, it is granted to the emotionally compelling. Feminine nature, like all human nature, responds first to feeling, then to interpretation. Reason arrives later, often merely to justify what emotion has already decided. This is where many men unknowingly disarm themselves. They believe that if they are understood, they will be chosen. But understanding does not create attachment. Emotion does. A woman does not bond to arguments. She bonds to how a man makes her feel about herself, about the world, about the moment she is in when he is near. Machiavelli knew that people will forget what a ruler promises, but never how he made them feel under his reign. Safety, excitement, pride, tension, calm, elevation, these are the currencies of loyalty. A man who stimulates emotion shapes memory, and memory governs attachment far more than facts ever could. When a man tries to persuade through logic, he places himself beneath judgment. He asks to be evaluated. When a man leads through emotional presence, he becomes the reference point. He is not weighed, he is felt. This distinction changes everything. One invites scrutiny, the other commands gravity. Emotion is not drama, it is depth. It is tone, pacing, silence, and certainty. It is the ability to remain composed when challenged, grounded when tested, and unmoved when approval is uncertain. Feminine instinct reads these signals instantly. They communicate inner order, and inner order is magnetic. Men often believe that emotional restraint makes them distant. In reality, emotional discipline makes them stable. A man who reacts to everything teaches others how to control him. A man who chooses his reactions teaches others where the boundaries lie. Machiavelli would say that power belongs to the one who governs himself first. Loyalty forms where emotion feels anchored, not suffocated, not overwhelmed, but anchored. When a woman senses that a man is emotionally sovereign, that his mood is not dependent on her validation, she feels both free and secure. Free because she is not responsible for his emotional state. Secure because he is capable of holding his own. Logic seeks agreement. Emotion creates alignment. Agreement is fragile, alignment is enduring. A man who constantly seeks to be understood risks becoming predictable. A man who creates emotional resonance remains influential even in silence. His absence lingers. His presence reorganizes attention. Machiavelli warned against relying on gratitude. Gratitude fades. Emotion imprints. The man who is remembered is the man who made life feel different, not the one who explained himself best. Attraction does not grow from convincing someone of your worth. It grows when your presence shifts their internal state. This is why trying to win arguments in relationships often costs men influence. Winning logic battles loses emotional ground. The goal is not to be right. The goal is to be felt. And feeling is created not through words, but through being centered, deliberate, and internally ordered. Emotion commands loyalty because it bypasses choice. It moves beneath awareness. It settles into instinct. Machiavelli understood that the deepest forms of control are invisible, not imposed, and that those who attempt to rule through reason alone surrender the terrain where real power is decided. Men often believe that being chosen is the result of effort, that persistence, availability, and sacrifice will eventually be rewarded. Machiavelli would recognize this belief as a costly error. In human affairs, value is not declared by the one who wants, but inferred by the one who observes. Desire does not rise toward need. It rises toward selection. A man who appears desperate communicates scarcity within himself, not scarcity of time or options, but scarcity of inner stability. Feminine nature does not consciously reject such men, but instinctively withdraws from them. Because desperation signals imbalance, and imbalance suggests risk. Attraction seeks grounding, not hunger. Machiavelli warned that those who seek favor too eagerly invite contempt, not because people are cruel, but because eagerness erodes perceived value. What is freely given without discernment feels less significant. When a man invests deeply before being invited to do so, he teaches others that his standards are low and his boundaries flexible. Selectivity is not arrogance, it is clarity. A man who knows what he values does not rush to attach himself to whoever shows interest. He observes, he evaluates, he allows time to reveal character. This patience communicates self-respect more loudly than any declaration ever could. Men often confuse emotional openness with emotional surrender. Openness allows connection. Surrender forfeits leverage. When a man places all his emotional weight onto one outcome, he hands control of his inner state to another person. Machiavelli would call this a failure of governance. Power begins where dependence ends. Feminine nature responds strongly to men who are chosen by their own lives. Men who are already engaged in purpose, growth, and direction, not because ambition is attractive in itself, but because direction creates structure, and structure signals safety. A man who has somewhere to go does not cling to who he meets along the way. Appearing selective does not mean withholding affection. It means offering it in proportion to what is built. It means allowing attraction to develop, rather than forcing it to accelerate. When a man moves too fast, he reveals anxiety. When he moves with rhythm, he reveals control. Machiavelli understood that authority is weakened when it is too accessible. The ruler who grants every request cheapens his own throne. In relationships, the man who grants unlimited access to his time, energy, and emotion before value is established diminishes his own presence. His availability becomes noise rather than signal. Being chosen is not about outperforming rivals. It is about embodying worth without demanding recognition for it. A man who constantly seeks reassurance of his place reveals insecurity. A man who is comfortable with uncertainty reveals confidence. And confidence is read instinctively as strength. Desperation narrows perception. It makes a man focus on outcome rather than process. Selectivity widens perception. It allows him to remain calm, observant, and grounded. Feminine instinct notices this difference immediately. One feels heavy, the other feels stable. Machiavelli advised that those who wish to command respect must first demonstrate self-command. A man who cannot restrain his need to be chosen will never be chosen for long. A man who can walk away without bitterness, without explanation, without collapse, communicates something rare in human nature: independence. Appearing selective means your life continues whether approval arrives or not. It means attraction is invited, not pursued. It means your attention is earned, not begged for. When a man stands in this posture, he no longer asks to be valued. He allows others to discover his value through experience and restraint. Machiavelli never asked men to become colder, crueler, or less human. He asked them to become aware that attraction is not governed by fairness, that loyalty is not secured through effort alone, and that human nature responds to what is perceived, not what is promised. These four truths reveal a single pattern. Desire follows emotional impact, not intention. Attraction fades under predictability, not kindness. Loyalty is born from feeling, not explanation. And value is inferred from selectivity, not pursuit. Men who ignore these laws do not fail because they lack goodness, but because they misplace it. When a man governs his emotions, disciplines his availability, and centers his life around purpose rather than approval, he does not need to chase connection. Connection moves toward him. This is not manipulation. It is alignment with how human nature has always operated, long before morality tried to soften it. Machiavelli understood that power is lost not through weakness of character, but through ignorance of reality. In relationships, as in leadership, those who refuse to see the world as it is will always be ruled by those who do.